they can make it fit.
We got you updated. This is Radio Imanzi News in English.
Good evening, dear listener. Thank you for tuning in. This is Radio Imanzi 105.1 FM, broadcasting from Kigali. Hear the news in English, brought to you by Alvin Umngadi. The headlines. President Kagame virtually joined East African Community heads of states for the East African Community-led Nairobi process for the restoration of peace and security in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. President Paul Kagame has appointed two ministers, Dr. Sabin Nsanzimana and Lieutenant Colonel Tarsis Monga. Dr. Agnes Karibata, President of the Alliance for a Green Revolution in Africa, has been recognized by Prince Albert II of Monaco. China COVID protests, fury and fear of virus puts Xi Jinping in a bind. A court in Comoros on Monday, November 28th, handed down a life sentence for high treason to ex-president Ahmed Abdallah Sambi. In Nigeria, the office of the Electoral Commission was set on fire to tamper with votes. We'll be back with news in detail. Welcome back. Let's detail the headlines. The president was today addressing the East African Community Nairobi-led peace process in Eastern DRC. He lamented the situation was affected the region, including hundreds of thousands of Congolese refugees who are unable to return home. The situation was also impeded trade investments throughout the region. His Excellency Paul Kagame said the primary reason for this persistent crisis is the failure to implement the many agreements that has been reached at various levels and at different times in the past years. President Paul Kagame sincerely believes that this time around efforts are going to bear good results. He said the recent resurgence of one armed group, among many others, has received a lot of attention globally, and this comes on top of other unresolved security and political challenges. The president welcomed the region's swift response and the robust mechanism being established to save lives in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo, and addressed the dangerous escalations that threaten neighboring countries, including Rwanda. He added that today, more than ever, political will is needed to implement the ongoing regional initiatives. This should include seriously addressing the root cause of insecurity once and for all, which will make a real difference in resolving the security concerns of Democratic Republic of Congo and the neighboring countries. The president promised Rwanda's full support towards a lasting and permanent solution.
His Excellency, President William Ruto, thanks for your invitation to participate in this meeting. His Excellency President Evariste Ndayishimiye, Chair of the East African Community, Excellencies, Heads of State, greetings from Kigali. I wish to start by thanking the leaders of our East African community for your commitment and efforts in finding a solution for this challenging security and other situations in our region. Let me take this opportunity to thank the chairperson of the East African Community, President Evariste Ndayishimiye, as well as the chairperson of the ICGLR, and AU Mediator President Joao Lorenzo, and I would like to express appreciation to President William Ruto and the East African facilitator, former President Kenyatta, for dedicating sufficient time and energy to this problem, which has a complicated and long history, but is nonetheless solvable. For almost 3 decades now, the problem of insecurity and instability in eastern DRC has festered and remained unresolved. This situation has negatively impacted our region, including the issue of hundreds of thousands of Congolese refugees who are unable to safely return to their homes, as well as impeding trade and investment with negative implications to the whole region. The primary reason for this persistent crisis is the failure to implement the many agreements that have been reached at various levels and at different times in past years. I most sincerely believe that this time around, these efforts are going to bear good results. The recent resurgence of one armed group, among many others, has received a lot of attention globally, and this comes on top of other unresolved security and political challenges. We therefore welcome the region's swift response and the robust mechanisms being established to save lives in eastern DRC and address the dangerous escalations that threaten neighboring countries, including Rwanda. What is needed today more than ever is a steady political will to implement the ongoing regional initiatives, particularly the East African community-led Nairobi peace process and the African Union mediation by President Lorenzo of Angola. This should include seriously addressing the root causes of insecurity once and for all, which will make a real difference in resolving the security concerns of DRC and the neighboring countries. The current framework that the leaders of the region have established and the decisions taken at the last week's summit in Rwanda are a real opportunity to find a durable solution. It is therefore in the interest of all of us to stay the course and not let the situation be a perennial problem. On this, you can count on Rwanda's full support toward a lasting and permanent solution. Your Excellencies, distinguished delegates participating in this meeting, I thank you for your kind attention.
President Paul Kagame has appointed Dr. Sabin Nsanzimana as the new Minister of Health, replacing Dr. Ngamije Daniel, who has been at the helm of the ministry since February 2020. A communique signed by the Prime Minister Edouard Ngirente and posted on Twitter on Monday also puts Dr. Yvan Butera as the new Minister of State in the Ministry of Health, replacing Lieutenant Colonel Tarsis Munga, who is now the new Director General of the University Teaching Hospital of Butare, named CHUB, a post previously occupied by the new Minister of Health, Sabin Nsanzimana. Prior to his appointment as Director General of University Teaching Hospital of Butare, CHUB, in February this year, Nsanzimana had served as the Director General of Rwanda Biomedical Center, RBC, a position he has held since July 2019. A medical doctor by profession, Nsanzimana served as the Director of National HIV Program for Rwanda and Division Manager for HIV/AIDS and Viral Hepatitis as the Institution of HIV Disease Prevention and Control at Rwanda Biomedical Center since 2008. The new Minister of State in the Ministry of Health, Butera, previously served as the Deputy Executive Secretary for Human Resources for Health in the same ministry since July 2021. The President of Alliance for a Green Revolution in Africa, AGRA, Agnes Karibata, has been recognized by Prince Albert II of Monaco for leading efforts towards Africa's food security and prosperity through inclusive and sustainable agricultural growth to secure livelihoods of millions of smallholders since 2014. Karibata was a laureate at the 15th Annual Awards for Planetary Health by the Prince Albert II of Monaco Foundation. The awards honor personalities and organizations who have shown remarkable commitment to the preservation of the planet. Speaking after receiving her award, Dr. Karibata expressed her gratitude for the recognition, saying, "We're not on track to achieve the SDG goal of zero hunger by 2030. I am honored to receive this award today, but it is not just for me. It is also an award acknowledging that we must continue our push to support Africa's smallhold farmers as they took to increase the agriculture production for more food security and increased income. They must do this while having choices to use modern technologies and practice that take care to take care of the environment." In his opening address at the award ceremony, HSH Prince Albert II of Monaco emphasized that while the Foundation's award for planetary health reward inspiring personalities for their work in favor of water, climate, and biodiversity, they also reward the path they have chosen, those of politics and collective action, science and research, industry and innovation, three areas that we must constantly mobilize, for it is with them that we make progress. The Sovereign Prince underlined the importance of 2022 laureate's commitment at a time when our planet is once again experiencing open conflicts that tend to push environmental issues aside. There has never been a better time to give a voice to those who seek to protect it. Mehal Mabganamaguru, Kigali's vice mayor in charge of urbanization and infrastructure, says the increase in population in the capital from 1.1 million to 1.6 million people has triggered the increase in settlement and infrastructure that require more facilities to manage floods. He said human activities, unplanned settlements, and climate change are triggered floods because the environment is threatened. Due to infrastructure development, there has been low penetration of runoff water. We need at least 2 drainages every year to manage floods. The city is rehabilitating 2 drainages, one in Nyarugunga sector in Kicukiro district and the other in Nyakabanda sector in Nyarugenge district, to be completed by December this year. The water will be channeled into the wetland and river Akagera. The drainages are said to cost about 2 billion Rwandan francs. Jean-Baptiste Nsengiyumva, a disaster and natural hazard risk management expert, said the floods in Kigali city are caused by lack of enough water channels, and he also mentioned that as the master plan is being implemented, relocating people from high-risk zones could reduce the efforts of floods. Africa Data Centers, a Pan-African technology group, has announced a plan to build its first data center in Kigali. The data center will have 2 MW of IT load and will be purpose-built to meet growing demand in the region. Tesh Dervasula, the company's CEO, expressed his excitement, saying, "It is an exciting time for Africa Data Centers. Our decision to build a data center in Kigali was an easy one, given Rwanda's robust economic recovery post the COVID-19 pandemic and the government of Rwanda's focus on digital transformation. Although Rwanda is a landlocked country in East Africa, there is a stable network connectivity and infrastructure connecting it to Uganda and from there to Kenyan coast into Uganda. Africa Data Centers will ensure that Rwanda becomes part of the ecosystem in East Africa by connecting the new data center to their site in Nairobi. Africa Data Centers want to extend the same experience to clients in Rwanda as it does in other countries by building a world-class ecosystem to which the Rwandan market can connect. 13 sensors will soon be installed in the city of Kigali to monitor the level of air and noise pollution. The sensors will be established by Rwanda Environmental Management Authority, REMA, and the African Institute for Mathematical Science, AIMS. The sensors are part of a new Kigali city framework for noise and air quality monitoring campaign. Officials say that in many low and middle income countries, particularly sub-Saharan, data on air pollution is scarce, thus limiting policy planning and implementation. The campaign aims to monitor the level of noise and air pollution in the city of Kigali to inform decisions of policymakers on matters related to air and noise pollution. Juliette Kabera, the Director General of Rwanda Environment Management Authority, said air quality monitoring and air pollution control are among priorities in protecting the environment. Rwanda's air quality monitoring system gives us the information we need to address air pollution and provides information to citizens about the status of their air where they live and work. We'll be back with economic news.
Economic news is a regular feature on Radio Imanzi.
The trading session recorded a total turnover of 125,448,000 Rwandan francs worth of bonds traded in 2 deals on the fixed income market, while the equities market remained quiet. Equities counters closed as follows: Bralirwa at 166 Rwandan francs, Bank of Kigali at 270 Rwandan francs, I&M Rwanda at 43 Rwandan francs, Simirwa at 120 Rwandan francs, MTN Rwanda at 176 Rwandan francs, Equity at 440 Rwandan francs, Kenya Commercial Bank at 370 Rwandan francs, National Media Group at 1,200 Rwandan francs, Uchumi Supermarket Limited at 104 Rwandan francs, and R&H Buffalo at 526 Rwandan francs. The United States dollar was buying 1,046 Rwandan francs and was selling 1,067 Rwandan francs. The British pound was buying 1,261 Rwandan francs and was selling 1,286 Rwandan francs. The euro was buying 1,083 Rwandan francs and was selling 1,105 Rwandan francs. The Kenyan shilling was buying 8.5 Rwandan francs and was selling 8.7 Rwandan francs. The Tanzanian shilling was buying 0.44 Rwandan francs and was selling 0.45 Rwandan francs. The Ugandan shilling was buying 0.27 Rwandan francs and was selling 0.28 Rwandan francs. The Burundian francs was buying 0.50 Rwandan francs and was selling 0.51 Rwandan francs. We'll be back shortly with international news.
Some items of international news on Radio Imanzi.
As thousands took the streets in cities protesting against COVID restrictions, an exhausted nation has been asking how much longer must they endure Xi Jinping's zero COVID policy. In one of President Xi's biggest political tests yet, the Chinese Communist Party must now negotiate both mounting fury and a deep-rooted fear of COVID as the country feels its way to an exit from the pandemic. In recent weeks, rumors spread at the city of Zhejiang and the Foxconn factory complex in Zhengshu that residents will be used as guinea pigs to see what will happen if COVID was allowed to spread unchecked. This prompt widespread panic has led Zhengshu workers to stage a mass breakout. For some, this fear has now been replaced by anger. In recent demonstrations, protesters have gathered in huge dense crowds, with some taking off their masks as they call for freedom and restrictions to end. Mr. Xi Jinping and the Chinese Communist Party have created a COVID Gordian knot, one that is now extremely difficult to cut. The Nigerian Electoral Commission, INEC, said one of its offices was burned down on Sunday in the southeastern state of Ebonyi, 3 months ahead of presidential and parliamentary elections in Africa's most populous country. The attack by unidentified men did not result in any casualties, but all materials were destroyed, including many voter cards. This is the third incident in November after the attack on 2 Nigerian Electoral Commission offices in the southwest, a region usually spared from such violence. On the 25th of February 2023, Nigerians will elect a successor to President Muhammadu Buhari, who is not standing for re-election after 2 terms in office and a record that has been deemed catastrophic both economically and in terms of security, 2 major issues in the election. The Nigerian Electoral Commission recently warned on the threat of escalating violence during the election campaign, adding that it had recorded at least 50 attacks since the exercise began nearly 2 months ago. Nigeria has a long history of election-related unrest and malfeasance, where in 2011 more than 800 people were killed in post-election violence in the country. The 64-year-old was convicted of selling passports to stateless people living in the Gulf. Sambi headed the Indian Ocean archipelago between 2006 and 2021. In 2008, he passed a law allowing the sale of passports and was accused of embezzling millions of dollars under the scheme, which was since referred to as the economic citizenship scandal. The prosecution said the cost was more than $1.8 billion, more than the impoverished nation's gross domestic product. But Sambi's lawyer Jean-Guillet Halimi said there is no evidence of this money and no account was discovered. Sambi refused to attend the trial as his lawyers said there were no guarantees he would be judged fairly. He appeared once with his defense asking the judge to rescue himself since he had previously sat on the panel that decided to indict him. The former leader was originally prosecuted for corruption, but the charges were reclassified as high treason, a crime that does not exist in Comorian law. The Comoros' former president Sambi had already spent 4 years behind bars before he faced trial, far exceeding the maximum 8 months, and he was originally placed under house arrest for disturbing public order. The Army Chief of Staff of Sao Tome and Principe announced the death of 4 people who had been arrested following the failed coup attempt, which the power claims to have thwarted on the night of Thursday to Friday, deaths on which the Sao Tomean justice will investigate. Prime Minister Patrice Trovoada said that he had foiled a coup attempt in this small Portuguese-speaking archipelago, considered a model of parliamentary democracy in Africa. The Chief of Staff said a 4-man commando was captured on Friday after 6 hours of firefights at Army headquarters. 4 citizens with 12 army soldiers tried to occupy military installations. Following several coup attempts, the last in 2003 and 2009, the parliamentary regime asserted itself in this poor archipelago, independent from Portugal since 1975, which allowed several alterations, including the movement of the release of Sao Tome and Principe Social Democratic Party. Sporadic gunfire and explosions continued on Monday morning, November 28th, around the Villa Rose Hotel, a popular venue for senior government officials and parliamentarians located a few blocks from the office of President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud, where 4 people were killed during the siege. Mohammed Dahir, a Somali security officer, said the terrorists are trapped in a room in the building and the security forces are about to end the operation very quickly. Several people were injured, including governmental officials. The National Police spokesperson, Sadiq Dushide, said a group of Al-Shabaab fighters attacked a hotel in Bondere district this evening, and security forces are engaged to eliminate them by Sunday evening. The civilians and politicians had been rescued and evacuated from the area. According to the UN, and at least 613 civilians have already been killed and 948 injured in violence this year in Somalia, mostly caused by improvised explosive devices known as IEDs attributed to Al-Shabaab. And that brings us to the end of today's program. Thank you for tuning in. Do not go anywhere. We're going to play a speech of His Excellency President Paul Kagame made during the African Union Summit on Friday, November 25th. This was Kagorora Ungari Alvin. Stay safe and have a wonderful night.
Excellency Mohamed Bazoum, President of the Republic of Niger, Excellencies, Heads of State and Government, Excellency Musa Faki, Chairperson of the African Union Commission, Excellency Mahamadou Issouf, Champion of the African Continental Free Trade Area, special guests, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Allow me to start by thanking our host, President Mohamed Bazoum, and the people of Niger for the warm welcome and hospitality in Niamey. I commend the African Union Commission and all partners for the initiative of this summit. Let me, from the outset, thank in particular the African financial institutions and UNIDO present here. Your support will be essential as we move forward with this agenda. The pace of industrialization in Africa remains too slow to achieve Africa's development goals under Agenda 2063. We need to invest more of our national budgets in industrial policy and significantly increase energy and infrastructure capacity. We must also build stronger links between our universities and the private sector to promote culture of innovation that includes our young people. Pharmaceutical manufacturing is an important new industrial sector for Africa, and I commend the African Union Commission along with CDC, Africa Development Bank, Afrexim Bank, and many other partners for their support and good results achieved so far. I also thank the Commission for the support being extended to Rwanda as host of the African Medicines Agency to operationalize the headquarters as quickly as possible. The most important tool we have to speed up industrial development in Africa is the Continental Free Trade Area. In the second half of our summit, we will consider important decisions on the operationalization of our trade pact. We will hear a report by His Excellency Mahamadou Issouf on the developments to date. I commend His Excellency for his years of historic service as our champion for the Continental Free Trade Area. His work has had a tremendous impact. I congratulate the Secretary General Wamukele Mene and his team for the good progress so far made. Every year, more countries are depositing their instruments of ratification. It is a sign that we are on the right track. To create impact, however, we need to move forward in unison and with a sense of urgency. It is important to finalize the remaining protocols and schedules of commitments. Times have changed, and the economic unity of our continent is more important than ever. We have not come this far to slow down. Time and time again, we are reminded of the importance of working together. No one can make it alone. That's what we need to do in the coming months to fully realize the potential of this historic agreement and of our great continent. I will not have to repeat to you the disturbing status of our continent's industrialization and the pace thereof. President Mohamed Bazoum has very eloquently laid it out all to us already. We have a choice to make. The future is in our hands. Let's go ahead and make the right choice. I thank you for your kind attention.